Hey everybody, it's Adina, your host of the Immigrant Finance Podcast. Today we're going to talk about how having a business helps you actually be able to invest more and build wealth. And I want to start off with sharing a review from one of our listeners about the podcast, Sarahí, who said that your podcast helps us to understand our financial potential. I like when there's talk about investments or putting away for the future or thinking about retirement. Those concepts are very new ideas to me and my family, so I like learning about them, and your podcast makes it easy to understand. So thank you so much, Sarahí, thank you for sharing that review. Really appreciate it. And that definitely inspired me today to share today's episode, really about thinking about what is possible and how things could be growing in your future and how to get there by starting a business and the power that can have on your other financial goals, including investing in the stock market. So let's first talk about business and investment for immigrants. So I want to make sure everybody in our audience knows, and you've probably heard me say this over and over again in different episodes, that you can have a business and you can invest in the stock market regardless of what your immigration status is. The main thing is that if you don't have access to a social security number, you will need what's called an individual tax identification number, or ITIN is the acronym. You can get that by filing federal taxes with the IRS and applying with the form W-7. We have a whole blog post on it on our website over at immigrantfinance.com/ITIN if you want to learn more about this. But if you do have that ITIN, rest assured you can start a business and you can invest in the stock market. And by starting a business, you're actually going to be able to invest more. And if you are listening on the podcast right now, I'd recommend switching over to YouTube so you can watch the video version of this, because I'm going to share my screen and walk through a calculator to help show you visually what that can look like. If you're not near a screen and you want to stick with the audio, that's cool too, whatever works for you. So let's talk first, before we jump into how the business helps you invest more, why start a business, and why is starting a business also a form of investment? So when you have your own business, there is no cap on your earning potential. There is no limit. So unlike a job where you have to try to get a raise or a promotion or a bonus to make more money, right? And you really have no control over that at the end of the day. You can do your best you can to make your case for it, but the decision is not yours. With a business, there is no cap on your earning potential. You make as much money as you want. It's a result of what you're willing to put into your business, how hard you're willing to work to set it up, and how strategic you're willing to be to set it up in a correct, good, sustainable way that's going to allow you to have cash flow and continue growing and scaling the business and helping more people over time. But there is no cap. There's infinite numbers of people that you can reach and help, especially with online business. There's really no limits when it's online. You don't have to just be limited to people in your area. And so there's a lot of potential of being able to increase income when you have your own business. Now, is it easy to start a business? No, if it was easy, everybody would do it. But there are lots of ways to get support with starting a business. You can check out, your local small business bureau where you live and see what resources they have. Lots of business coaches are out there who can provide support. We provide business coaching both in our signature program, Immigrant Finance School, and also our online business accelerator, Illuminate Digital, which, by the way, the next round is starting September 27th. If you're interested in joining us, send us a message over on Instagram at immigrant.finance. We can tell you more about it. It's an amazing program. We build out your whole business in 90 days, and you only do this about once a year. So it's a great time to join. But anyway, yeah, so there's lots of support available. You don't have to do it alone. We're not meant to do things alone. We are social creatures. We're meant to get support. But if you're willing to show up and get support and do the work, there's so much potential when you start a business. And we all know, if you've been listening to this podcast and following personal finance stuff, how important investing in the stock market is, right? So investing in the stock market is one of the easiest, most available ways to grow your money and build what's called passive income, which is when your money is earning money on its own, right? And it's a way, regardless of how much money you make, even with a small amount of money, doing it consistently every month over time, you can really build wealth. And I'm going to show you that in the calculator in a moment. But there's different kinds of investing. So that's the investing in the stock market. We started talking a little bit about investing in starting your own business. That is also a form of investing, just like investing in the stock market, because you are investing your time, your energy, your heart. Also, there's usually some upfront costs to starting a business. It can be pretty low cost, even online business, but things like, a Zoom Pro account so that you don't get cut off after 40 minutes, or maybe an email marketing service so that you can send emails to your list, things like that. Although there's free and low cost ways for that to be done as well. There are some investments you will need to make in starting a business. But the thing is, just like with investing in the stock market, when you invest in your own business, you get a return. So, and there's a saying, especially when you're investing in yourself, the return is tenfold. So the money you put into your business, as long as you have a good strategy and you have support and guidance on where you're going, you can expect that money to come back to you in a greater amount, basically, because it is an investment. And that's really what we want to be thinking about in this podcast, in this community, are what are things we can do to put ourselves in a better position in the future, to build more financial stability, to build wealth. And I loved what Sarahí had said about putting away for the future and thinking about retirement, these new ideas that were new for her family, at least. Being able to start thinking that way, that's how you can make that shift to start to build wealth. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen for those of you watching on the video here. And let's look over this investment calculator to get an idea of what investing in the stock market can do for your finances, and then what investing in a business can do to just take that to the next level to grow your wealth. So this calculator here, I got just from Googling investment calculator. I believe the first one to come up, or one of the first ones. And you'll see here that there are different fields we can fill out. So I have here starting amount $0, because we're looking at what this would look like for a new investor who has not started investing before. And then the timeline, let's look at 10 years to see what will happen in 10 years of consistent investing, how that can be done. The return rate, I put down 8%. The reason being is generally investing in the total stock market. So spreading out your investments to own, a piece of all of the publicly traded companies in the US. We know statistically, historically, over the past 100 years, that you can expect a rate of return of between 7 to 12%. And 8 is a conservative kind of average of that. So that's why I put down 8% is something we can look at for this calculator of the return. The return, by the way, is the free money you get when you invest. So it's like the interest rate, just like if you have a bank account where you're earning interest and the bank pays you free money, it's the same thing with investing, just at a higher amount. You get a bigger interest payment. There's more of a return. And then we're going to look at a contribution of $200 per month. You see I have filled out. So if you can find a way to invest $200 a month, every month for 10 years, in looking at your total stock market average rate of return of 8%, you press calculate and you'll see the end balance after those 10 years is going to be over $36,000. And we'll look at the math. And the amount you put in, your total contributions, which is that 200 you're putting in every month, right? That ends up being $24,000 over those 10 years. And then let's look at what the interest is. The interest, remember, is that free money you're getting paid for investing from the companies you're investing in. And you'll end up with over $12,000 in interest. That's free money you've made just by putting your money in an investment instead of sitting in cash or sitting in a bank account where you would get barely anything, even if you had a high interest rate. So this really shows you the power of investing, that you were able to make $12,000 essentially by letting your money just sit and grow. So that's money being earned while you're sleeping, while you're on vacation. That's why it's called passive income. Now, here's where I want to bring in what happens when you start a business and how that can help you invest more and reach your financial goals faster and build generational wealth and reach financial freedom. So we've already seen just investing $200 a month, how far you can go. Let's assume that was being done through current income, through a job or some side hustles or something. But look what happens if we can increase that additional that monthly contribution of $200 a month, right? So how can you increase that monthly contribution of $200 a month? Well, you got to increase income. There's two ways. You either can reduce your expenses and budget really hardcore, or you can increase income, or both. Usually with the budgeting, we've been able to help many students be able to start saving an extra $1,000 a month just by learning how to budget really well. But at a certain point, there's only so far you can go when your income's not changing. So we can start with seeing what money you can free up in your current income and your current budget to increase that. But at a certain point, you're going to need to take steps to increase income if you want to see these numbers growing faster. So if we want to start a business, let's say, maybe that the first year or two not making a lot, or maybe you're actually investing a lot in the business, right? So there's not that cash flow yet to help you have more money to invest. But when you have it off the ground and you're having cash flow coming in and you're being able to pay yourself through your business, which is the whole point of the business, right? It's to make money, right? It's obviously to help people and fulfill your mission and all of that. We're huge on that. But if the business isn't making money, it's not a business, it's a hobby. It's an expensive hobby. So we want to get the business to a place where it is making money, and then you can use that extra money to propel your financial goals faster. So look what happens. Let's say that we are able to have $500 extra a month by starting a business at a certain point. That could bring up our monthly contribution from 200 to now 700, right? 200 plus 500 is 700. Let's calculate that. Wow. So we just went from having 36,000 after 10 years to now having over $126,000 just by adding an extra 500 a month that we were able to do by starting a business, right? So that brings us up now to, instead of, I believe it was 12,000 in interest when we were investing 200 a month. Now it brings us up to over $42,000 in interest. That's free money you're getting investing just by investing every month, 700 a month instead of 200 a month. So we're really able, sorry, seeing my daughter open the door. Really able to see how the numbers climb here, and how at this point, a very significant amount of the money at the end of the 10 years is free money from interest, right? So 33% of that is now interest, whereas let's look at what it was when it was 200 a month. Before it was, let's see, I guess it was also 33% before. That's interesting. But obviously the total number was smaller. So instead of getting that 42,000 interest, it was 12,000 in interest, right? The percentages stay the same, but the amount we're getting is larger. Now, let's say it's been a few years out and you are growing your business. You maybe hired a couple contractors, you're building a team that's allowing you to have the capacity to reach and help more people, and you're able to pay yourself more. And now let's say you can have an extra $1,000 a month on top of the 200 you were able to do before you started a business. So that brings us to investing $1,200 a month, right? Over 10 years. Wow. Okay. So at this point, you would end up after 10 years with over 216,000, right? We're almost at $250,000. The interest being over 72,000. So it really shows you the difference we can have. We went from initially about 12,000 when it was 200 a month to now over 72,000 free interest a month. Now, the next thing I want to change is the number of years. So let's say that you are doing this over the long haul, you've got a long-term strategy here to build generational wealth, which is the most effective. It does take time, right? And let's say we've been doing this now for 30 years, right? Maybe it's, until you retire or whatever, you're investing consistently $1,200 a month for 30 years. Now you can see after the 30 years, the ending balance is over $1,690,000. So this is how people are able to become millionaires, right? Through investing. And the really cool thing here is the interest you're getting now is over $1 million in free money. So 30 years of investing $1,200 a month, you get as I mentioned, over $1,690,000 total. But how much of it was interest? Almost all of it. Over $1,258,000 was in free money interest. And at this point, 74% of the money at the end is from interest, compared to how it was only 33% when we were investing smaller amounts. And that just shows you over time, when your investments are growing and the interest is accumulating, you're able to really start building wealth this way. Right. So I hope this encourages you all to see, like, visually what it looks like and that big difference it can make, just being able to increase the amount that you're investing each month. Right. And this is how you can get to the goals you want to get, to have financial freedom, build generational wealth, be prepared and stable in retirement, be able to pass down money to children. And so I hope it encourages you all that finding ways to increase income and taking that leap of faith to start a business is one of the most powerful moves that you can do for your finances. And we would be so excited to support you with starting your business. Please do reach out if you're interested at all. I'm happy to talk about it in the free 30-minute consults that we offer over at immigrantfinance.com/consult, and enjoy thinking more and dreaming about, all that's possible when you're able to focus on increasing income by starting a business and investing it. It really is how you can get to where you want to be.